This is the Slots and Sockets podcast, episode number 73. I am one of your hosts, IRD Moose, and my partner in crime,
Racing Penguin tonight.
Racing Penguin. Twin Turbo Penguin.
Twin Turbo. That makes a lot of sense.
Happy Monday to you, Turbo. And
Big deal.
Happy Monday to all of you out there in Internet-topia. We're recording again on time for a change. So this is episode number 73. And for 73, we have some interesting stories coming along. Nvidia is trying to finally end of life the 1080 Ti.
So they came out and said that we're going to have driver support through October of 25.
Yep.
Now that doesn't mean that that they're going to stop working, but that you're not going to get BIOS. You're not going to get driver updates.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
other than security updates.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, I think the key thing is that people will still be able to play on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that if there's games or little bugs, Nvidia is not going to spend any time backwards compatibility trying to fix it in their driver set, and really kind of leaving it up to developers to fix.
Yeah.
If your games, like current games, should have zero issues, unless they do some sort of weird update that really kind of messes specifically with the 10 series. But, the thing is that with the 10 series and beyond, a lot of those pieces they just work really well. It's the same instructions. Where you will probably run into issues is, you're going to run into problems with the 1080 Ti when you get into games that obviously require things like ray tracing, or if they have some version of DLSS. And hopefully games don't require some of these proprietary pieces. But this is something that for future. Now, with that being said, if you're running at a 1080 Ti like that machine, there it is. Like that machine, you probably will want to look at the games and the usage of that and make the decision if maybe you want to update. The honest truth is if you have a 1080 Ti, that is still a really surprisingly good processor and GPU, and one that you don't necessarily have to replace. And if you're really playing modern new games, I'm going to guess the majority of them are going to work just fine just because of how NVIDIA's done their drivers. Yeah. I don't really think that, but I don't expect any optimization specifically for 10 series, but we really haven't seen optimizations for 10 series it's been stagnant for a long time. So yeah. I don't think anyone's surprised. And let's be honest, let's just give credit due. This goes back to a time when NVIDIA made real GPUs that didn't suck.
And they produced real frames, and they handmade
real frames, and they didn't have to, go to gimmicks.
Yeah.
To make them faster. And the honest truth is that 1080 Ti is the graphics card that should have never been made.
Yep.
And NVIDIA was upset with the fact that they made it for years, because the 1080 Ti was legitimately, had you of all things that you had bought and longevity from a gaming perspective, that was probably the buy of all PC gaming time.
Yeah, I would say probably. Go ahead.
You could easily be playing 1080p medium settings, and in some games high settings still with a 1080 Ti today.
Yeah,
and it was outpacing some games with like VRAM limitations, like all of the 30 series, like the 3070 and 3080. Yeah, there were games where the 1080 Ti was still faster because it had 11 gigs, not 8.
Yep.
Thank you, NVIDIA. You suck.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too is, my i7 950 was one of those parts where it was just so good I didn't need to replace it. In fact, I was forced to replace it um after nearly 10 years of service. And it's rare that you get a piece of hardware that's that freaking good that it just lasts.
I mean,
All of the 10 series was really solid. Like that 1070, the 1070 I have is still a decent card. It's just, it's a card for mom's machine now. Well, actually, I'm going to be replacing that with an APU. So yeah, because she's having issues with her 4K monitor. But
but
it's still the 10 series is still a good setup. If you got a 10 series and you're not playing anything that you feel like you need to replace it, keep it. Why spend 2-3 grand on a replacement top end GPU just to get maybe 20% more frames
I mean,
in of real frames?
the honest truth is if you look at longevity, um, you know, you might be able to make the argument that the 3090 might have some good longevity with it because it had a lot of VRAM. Um,
Yeah.
and it is a very fast graphics card. The
Yeah.
downside to this is that you sit there and say, well, 3090 was like, 1,500 bucks, whereas the 1080 Ti was 799.
Mm-hmm.
And so goes back to a time when Nvidia priced their stuff for normal people, and and now they're just pricing it because of what that looks like.
Yep.
So it's an interesting topic.
Well, and the 1080 Ti was even an odd card in its own class because it was in some games it was knocking on the door of the Titan for that generation too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was the card that the 1080 should have been, which is what we get with the super stuff down. But it was more card than Nvidia wanted to give. And I think that's why it's such a great card. And it's time has come. It's not completely dead, but
The
its
honest
days
truth
are
is,
numbered with
the
with
honest
the
truth,
lack of updates.
the one thing I would say is I still think the 1080 Ti specifically is still in a time, like on a used side, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
where I could easily continue to see and tell somebody, that's not a bad card. And the fact that you lose driver support could, if you could get this for 120 bucks or 100 bucks, to be honest, that's a great deal.
Yeah.
And again, I really think it's about price. And I think as long as you understand the limitations you're going to have, it's probably not the worst thing you could do.
No. Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I don't think anyone would regret getting a 1080 Ti if you got it for a really good price, especially if you were hurting for a GPU or you just wanted to get into PC gaming on the cheap. It'll play Fortnite beautifully. It'll play pretty much every modern title, with the exception, as you mentioned, with the exception of titles that require ray tracing, like the latest Indiana Jones game. But if that's not what you're going for, if you're going for simple, casual stuff and you want to have a solid card, yeah, get a 1080 Ti. They should potentially last for quite a bit longer. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's a funeral for the 1080 Ti, but its days certainly are numbered as far as how much longer you can continue to use it. I think the 38 or the 3090 and 4090 still will have several years to go, but for Nvidia to support this card longer than 5 years, which is usually how far out they support things, gotta give them some props for that, because we've been crapping on them a fair bit the last year. Not that it's not been deserved, but they stuck with the card, and they didn't kill it earlier than they felt they should have, and that's more power to them.
I mean, I'll say this: I'm just looking to see because I'm interested, like to see kind of where some of these cards are price wise on the like Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
And here's one that's been in my local area. It's been on the market for 3 weeks, and it's at 140. At that much time, I think you could easily say, I'll give you $100 for it, and that's a good buy at $100.
Yeah.
Some of these more expensive ones, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say if priced right, I think the 1080 Ti is still a good buy. I really look at that though, and I say 1070 Ti and some of those because of the lower VRAM, and especially the 1080 vanilla, because I think that only has 8. Yeah, that only has 8. I really think the 1080 Ti is really the only other buy I would say at 10 series that makes sense in today's world to buy. You wouldn't buy a non Ti or yeah.
I mean, if you got a non Ti for like $70, I'd say that would be reasonable. But
you're going to run into problems on the VRAM limitation. That's the issue I would run into.
Yeah, you'd run the same problems on VRAM with a 3070 or some of the more expensive, more current cards too. But speaking of something the 1080 Ti might not run, we've seen some news that Battlefield 6 is coming out. In fact, just before we started recording the show, you and I both installed the open beta, and now we got to go check our BIOS settings because Secure Boot's disabled. So, I mean, Battlefield 6 looks cool. The screenshots I've seen look gorgeous. Of course, Battlefield screenshots always look gorgeous, even when it's not a good game. So, in fact, as we record this, they're doing a live event right now. For Battlefield.
Okay. I hope it's good. And I'll just leave it at that. I hope it's good. I will be playing it this weekend, Saturday, Sunday. I am going to be very interested to see how it goes. And all I can say is that I really hope EA doesn't screw this up, because I sort of have the suspicion that if this launch goes bad, we will never see another Battlefield game.
Yeah. At least not under the EA masthead. And
I'm sort of done with Call of Duty, so I'm hopeful. And I love 1942. It was awesome, amazing, everything that's so good. So I'm hopeful that this is good. I am not pre-ordering it. But I will say, if the open beta is super, super fun and heck of good, I might, if I had enough people, be like, you should totally get it. I might be interested in pre-order. It's gotta be good though. So don't screw this up, EA.
Let's hope it is good. And the open beta opens this weekend on August the 9th, closes end of day August the 10th. So get it preloaded and check your secure boot status in your BIOS. Make sure that's good. That will be a good thing for both of us to check after the show. But I mean, it looks visually good, and as we record this, I'm kind of watching the live stream from the developer event on the Steam store page, and that's another thing. Steam only. You don't need Origin, you don't need the EA launcher or anything like that. You just do it on Steam.
And they have it in other places, so you can get Battlefield and other ones. But the cool thing is that this is the first one with, like, you don't have the EA launcher running in the background, which I really like. I think they've kind of realized that this EA Origin thing was just so bad.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so I'm
yeah.
hopeful. I'm hopeful. Videos look great. Images look great. I to be honest, probably the first game I'm excited about before it's come out in some time. But I'm going to throw it out the official do not pre-order, because you should not pre-order anything from EA ever. I don't care how good they get. I don't care what it is.
Don't pre-order any games, period.
Don't pre-order games. But
I mean, just look at Concord. People that pre-ordered that got completely hosed. But, just kind of a bloviating preview. I'm looking at the developer stream here on the Steam store page, and it looks a lot like what we loved out of Battlefield 2. It's the modern stuff, and it's visually impressive.
I'd love for them to go back and do 1942 again.
The game, I agree. I think we need another 1942. They were kind of there with Battlefield 1, but it wasn't it was not well done. So yeah, I would love to see another 1942, and give me Garand Thumb all day.
Yeah, exactly.
So, moving on, we got a little bit more information from Gigabyte about their B650 boards and Gen 5 support for PCI Express.
Yeah, so on the B650 boards, the newest BIOS update actually removes, it is unofficial PCI Gen 5 support. But the problem is that it was, from what I understand of the Gigabyte boards, and this is only on the B650, but these were like enabled from the get-go.
Yeah.
And on the latest version, it completely removes Gen 5 like listing, and so you can't even choose it. The thing is all I would say on this, I think it's kind of BS. I don't understand why Gigabyte would do this. They've been awfully silent on this. Unless there's a reason that their board can't do it, they're like, actually, we have to do it because of this, then they probably just need to be upfront and be like, yeah, we can't do it because of this. But they hadn't doing that because, MSI and Asus, they all suck, and they don't say things, they just do things. And people are like, why'd you do that? And, my guess is eventually they're going to come back and be like, yeah, maybe that wasn't a good idea. But I don't know. We'll see. Yep. The truth of the matter is that it's a simple fix. If you accidentally flash the go back, there is a way to flash with a USB drive without the CPU. That overrides everything. So you can just do the app BIOS on the Gigabyte boards and roll back to a good supported BIOS for Gen 5. I don't know if there's really any huge people upset about this, because if you were buying B650, you were already kind of in a budget, and it would be kind of silly if you want B650 and a 5090. That just seems a little out of place, where I would expect the X series for those people who built those high-end pieces. We're not using the bandwidth of PCI Express 4. So at least the GPU side, so it's not a bottleneck. If it's now, by the way, that update for Gen 5 only applies to the PCI Express, the GPU slot, PC 16X, the X1, the very first one, that is only for your that's designated for your graphics card. It does not remove Gen 5 support from your M.2s. So what I don't get is why you would continue to allow M.2s but not do.
Maybe it's the number of lanes, because the support, because the support from the GPU lanes would be coming through the CPU, But if the B650 boards just weren't designed to handle Gen 5 signaling, I could see that potentially being an issue. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly listed as optional on the M.2. So if your board supports Gen 5 on the M.2, it shouldn't lose that with this BIOS update. And I don't know that we really see any performance boost from Gen 5 on your GPUs yet. In coming years, it might become more of a thing, but by that point, we'll probably have, 3, 4 more generations of CPUs. You'll be looking at replacing your motherboard anyway, and by that point, we'll probably have Gen 6
Well, but let's
PCI
be honest
Express.
here. Maybe not. Because again, AM5 and that support, and looking at AM4, we expect at least one more generation, possibly two. I really think one. But let's say you get one more CPU generation, losing PCI Gen 5 on something where you're playing on it, where you bought it at the very beginning, because the B650 is one of the few launch platforms. You had this X670 and the 670E, and then you had the B650. And so, unfortunately, for those who had bought at the beginning the B650, if PCI Gen support is something that's important to you on the GPU, you need to roll back.
Yeah.
So, a little surprised. But again, I mean, these motherboard manufacturers all suck, so they're just going to piss people off. And then I'll tell you what happened. It'll say something, and if it gets enough traction, then Gigabyte will come back. Oh yeah, that was a mistake. We should have done it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oops. Sorry, guys.
You want to use F30, F51 now, or whatever the BIOS version they release out. But
and we have some news from our friends at AMD for a CPU you could potentially socket into that B650 board that just had its Gen 5 PCI Express neutered. Yep. Some rumors are kind of becoming more and more solid about a dual CCD 9000 series Ryzen with dual 3D V cache.
Yep. So dual 3D V cache on both dies. So your combined L3 and 3D V cache is going to increase from 128 megabytes on the 9950X3D to 192.
Yep.
You still get the same core count. You're going to have a bump in the TDP to account for the more power that you'll need for that second 3D V cache chiplet. But the interesting thing, and one thing where I was, because we also see that there's a rumored Ryzen 7 8-core processor, and this one matches the same TDP, the same L3 cache with 3D V cache as the 9800X3D. I'm wondering if we will see 9850X3D with the same 8-core Zen 5 chiplet design, same L3 and 3D V cache, same TDP, but I wonder if we're going to see the clocks boost, because right now 5.2 is what you get on the 9800X3D.
Yep.
I wonder if they will boost that up to 5.5, 5.7, possibly could they go to 6 on a single 3D V cache. I think they absolutely could. We're only asking 800 megahertz higher than the original. I don't know about that, but I would say if I have the same TDP, the same 3D V cache, the same core count, why are we making something unless it's faster on the clock speed? And the 9800X3D only has one chiplet, so this is not the same as the 9950X3D where one chiplet has and one chiplet doesn't. So we and Moose have come to the fight. We want AMD to call it the 9999.
99.99.
The
and they got to sell it at that price.
Yeah. Well, no, they don't have to sell it at that price. We don't want them to sell it that much. I want to sell them at like $500.
Well, no, it'd be
I think that-
$99.99.
Oh no, okay, I see what you're saying.
That's what I was saying.
I'm fine. I agree with that. Then we're good with that.
Yeah. $100 for $99.99.
This would be interesting, I think, because the Ryzen 7, before the show, we talked that you could get the 9800 X3D below MSRP. MSRP is $479.
Yep.
You can now get it for $449. This makes sense. If AMD does what they normally do, they're going to soft lower the MSRP of the 9800 so they can slot the 9850 at the $479.
Yeah, and if it's a significant bump in clocks, that might be a reasonable upgrade to do the whole hardware dance with mom, because I'm looking at me and give her an upgrade as it is. So,
the only thing I would say, if you're on AM5, I still would hold off unless you had a really good use case scenario for either of these processors, because the leaks we're seeing on Zen 6,
they look very juicy.
We're adding a whole gigahertz. Like they're targeting 7.
7 for boost. So yeah, but still, it's going to hit 7.
It'll hit 7, and if that's the case, for gaming, that is going to just be. I mean, think about this: the 9800 X3D is 5.2 gigahertz. The next generation, if it's still 8 cores and you see a 5 to 10 point IPC uplift, which I think might be on the low side.
That's
but
reasonable.
Let's just say it's reasonable to go from 5.2 to 7. Even if you kept everything else the same, that's going to be a very good gaming. And again, AMD is doing what AMD does, and they're just beating the snot out of Intel across the board on every product cycle, from high-end desktop to servers to games to even the value. I mean, we're talking that a 9700F is coming, and that's going to be I think that's going to be sub $300. And that's going to be an 8-core Zen 5 without 3D V cache, and it's going to be only a 65-watt part. That's going to be a great part. Could it only boost at 5 or 5.2? Yeah. But again, for a budget build, that's killer. And at 65 watts, you know where else that's going to be really good? Small form factor.
True.
Really good. So, very, very good stuff. But realistically speaking, it's been a quiet week.
It has. Well, it's summer, so we don't have Intel to beat up on pretty much on the daily right now. So they're just being quiet and just like, stop beating us up, please.
There's things we can talk about with Intel, but
no, I mean, nothing really of interest though. That's kind of the sad part. And on that sad bombshell, I think we're going to call it a show tonight. Thank you all for giving us a little bit of your time. And do remember to jump down the doobly-doo down below and like and subscribe and comment, do all that algorithmic goodness to feed the algorithm, because it's hungry. It wants your data and stuff. So until next time, thanks for watching and have fun storming the castle.
Good night, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.